He said I was too focused on the baby. I thought he meant he needed more attention. What he meant was he'd been sleeping with our nanny. When I walked in on them, he didn't even cover up, just looked at me and said, "You should have known." I walked out holding my daughter. But I also took something he'd never expect me to find. I didn't plan to find out that day. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't trying to catch him. I just came home early. That's all. It was a normal Tuesday in Scottsdale. I had a dentist appointment scheduled for 2 p.m., and Darren was supposed to be working from home. Tessa, the nanny, was there watching our baby girl, Sadie. Sadie is 6 months old. My whole world. I haven't had a full night of sleep since she was born, but I didn't care. She smiled every time I walked in the room. That smile was the only thing getting me through the exhaustion, the loneliness, the fights that were starting to happen more often with Darren. He kept saying I was too focused on the baby. He'd roll his eyes every time I showed him a new picture of Sadie smiling or sitting up on her own. One time he told me, "You're not just a mom, you know. I'm still here." I thought he wanted more attention from me. Maybe more time alone, more sex, more something.
So I tried.
I made his favorite dinner. I sent him a photo once in a silk robe that still had the tags on it. He didn't even respond. But I told myself not to panic. I told myself all new parents go through rough patches. I figured he was just tired or adjusting. I had no idea it was because he was screwing our nanny under our roof. Tessa was 23. Darren hired her himself when Sadie was about 2 months old. Said she came from a co-worker's recommendation. She had that Instagram look. Platinum blonde hair, fake tan, tiny waist. She always called Darren sir, like we lived in some kind of mansion. I didn't like how she smiled at him, but I ignored it. I didn't want to be that wife. The paranoid, insecure one. The day it happened, I didn't even tell anyone I was coming home early. The hygienist at the dental office had an emergency, so my appointment got canceled after the cleaning. I figured I'd get home, maybe take a nap while Sadie napped. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Darren's car still there. That was odd. He usually left by 2 for meetings. When I walked in the door, everything felt off. Too quiet. The baby wasn't crying, but I didn't hear any talking either. No lullabies, no cartoons on the TV. Just silence. Then I saw her. Sadie was in her car seat, unbuckled. Just sitting there by the door with her little hat on the floor next to her. Alone. That's when I heard the noises upstairs. They weren't subtle.
Rhythmic, loud, wet sounds.
At first I thought maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was music. But then I heard a giggle. Her giggle. I froze. My stomach dropped. I walked upstairs slowly. I told myself to be calm. I still didn't think it was what it ended up being. Maybe they were just moving furniture, or she fell, and he was helping her. I don't know. I was trying to believe anything else. I opened our bedroom door. Darren was inside her. She was underneath him, hair fanned out over our bed, the bed I nursed my daughter in. Her legs were wrapped around him, and they didn't even stop when I walked in. He turned his head toward me like I was interrupting a meeting and just said, "You should have known." That's it.
No panique. No epalegi.
Not even a sheet pulled over them. I stood there, completely frozen. For a second I think my brain just shut down. Then I looked at him, really looked. This man I shared a life with, who watched me give birth, who said, "I love you" every night for years. And he was acting like I was the one being unreasonable. I didn't scream. I didn't even speak. I walked away. I went downstairs, picked up Sadie, who was somehow still calm despite everything. I put her hat back on. I grabbed her diaper bag. But when I opened the hall closet to check for extra formula, I saw something. It was a box. Small, wooden, locked with one of those tiny padlocks. I'd seen Darren with it before. He always said it was full of old family stuff, letters, war medals, pictures of his granddad from Vietnam. But he was weird about it. Once, I accidentally moved it while vacuuming, and he snapped at me like I'd knocked over a priceless artifact. I don't know why I grabbed it. Maybe I was looking for something to hold on to. Maybe I already knew there was more. The box wasn't hard to open. The lock was fake, just for show. I popped it open with a butter knife. Inside was money. Thick stacks of cash. All $100 bills. Wrapped in bands like at a bank. I counted at least 10 bands before I stopped. And underneath the cash was a flash drive. I shoved both into the bottom of the diaper bag. Still, he didn't come downstairs. No yelling, no begging, no chasing me. Like he was done with me. Like I was nothing. I drove to my sister Erin's place in Mesa. She's older than me, tougher than me, never liked Darren. When I told her what happened, she didn't even act surprised. She just said, "You need a lawyer." I showed her the money and the flash drive. We plugged the drive into her laptop. It wasn't password protected, just messy. Dozens of folders. One called Invoices. One called Safe. One labeled Church. Inside were spreadsheets. Lots of them. Names, dates, cash amounts.
Wire transfers.
Fake business names. It took us a couple hours to make sense of it all, but eventually we figured it out. Darren was running some kind of shell company scam. He wasn't just cheating. He was laundering money through fake clients, donations, made-up vendors. Some of the people named were real people, like his boss, like our kid's old doctor, like two of our neighbors. It wasn't a side hustle. It was a criminal operation. I called a lawyer the next morning. Not a divorce lawyer. A criminal defense attorney I'd met once at a mom's event. She took one look at the drive and said, "You can walk away clean if you act now. Or you can end up going down with him." But I didn't want to just walk away. He betrayed me. He humiliated me. He put our daughter at risk, and he didn't even try to hide it. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to destroy him. I didn't sleep that night. Erin took care of Sadie while I sat at her kitchen table with a flash drive and a stack of cash spread out in front of me. I kept thinking about how calm Darren looked when I caught him. Like he had been waiting for it to happen. Like he had a plan. That's what scared me more than anything. The look in his eyes. This wasn't a man who got caught up in a stupid affair. This was someone who didn't care if I found out. That meant he had backup plans. Secrets.
Power.
I wasn't dealing with just a cheating husband. I was dealing with someone dangerous. And then I found the second file. It was in a folder called Hold, tucked deep inside another one called Home Repairs. I clicked it by accident, thinking it was receipts for contractors or something. But it wasn't. It was a video. I almost shut the laptop, thinking it might be them, Darren and Tessa. I didn't want to see that. But I played it. It wasn't that. It was a recording of a phone call. Darren's voice.
Talking to someone.
Calm, cold, businesslike. Her name's Melissa, yeah. My wife. She won't be a problem. Just keep the payments low-key like we talked about. We don't need her asking questions. Then a pause. She's emotional. Not smart. You know how it is. My chest tightened. My ears rang. I replayed it. Again and again.
He was talking about me.
To who I didn't know. Maybe a partner. Maybe a client. But the tone, like I was just some weak, disposable thing, sent something sharp through my gut. That was when I stopped crying. That was when I got mad. I made copies of the flash drive. 3 copies, actually. I put one in Erin's safe. One in a P.O. box under a different name I'd set up years ago when I considered starting a side business. And one on a cloud drive, locked with a new password I didn't even write down. Just memorized. Then I started watching him. I didn't move back in. I stayed at Erin's. But I told Darren I needed time to think. I acted quiet, emotional, confused, just like he described me. I told him I wasn't ready to talk about what I saw. He seemed fine with that.
Too fine.
That's when I realized. He wasn't worried because he thought I had nothing. No clue about the money, the files, the people. He thought he could wait me out. He didn't know I had already started speaking to someone inside the IRS. Her name was Rachel. I met her through the lawyer. She worked in forensic accounting and fraud investigation. Once I gave her access to the files, after making sure I'd be protected legally, she told me something that made my skin crawl. This is bigger than your husband. These accounts link to a network. If you hadn't come forward now, you probably would have ended up on the hook too. Then she asked something else. Are you safe right now? I said yes. But the truth was, I didn't know anymore. 2 days later, I saw Tessa. She was standing across from my sister's house, just leaning against a car, watching. She had sunglasses on, but I knew it was her. Same hair, same stance, same smug face. I opened the front door. She didn't flinch. I stepped outside. She got in her car and drove off. That night, Erin checked her security cams. We found footage of Tessa walking up the driveway around midnight the night before. She didn't knock. She didn't try the door. She just stood there for 20 minutes, then left. I reported it. A detective came to take a statement, but he looked annoyed. Said it was probably a misunderstanding. When I told Darren about it the next day, over the phone, he laughed. I told her not to bother you, he said, like it was nothing. She just wanted to say goodbye. Like she was some friend moving away. That's when I stopped pretending. I told him I knew about the money. I told him I had the files, the names, the video. He went quiet. Then he said, "You're making a mistake." And then hung up. 2 days later, my car was broken into. Nothing was taken except my laptop. The one with the original copy of the flash drive. But I'd expected that. I'd already wiped it. I knew he was trying to scare me.
To rattle me.
To make me feel small again. But I wasn't the same woman who walked in on him in that bed. I wasn't scared. I was waiting. Because I knew something he didn't. I hadn't just found evidence. I'd found names. Names of people who had a lot to lose. People who thought they were untouchable. And if Darren wanted to play dirty, he had no idea just how far I was willing to go. The morning after my car was broken into, I got a call from my old job. I hadn't worked since Sadie was born, but I'd been there 6 years. Receptionist at a law office in Tempe. The office manager, Lydia, sounded nervous. "Hey, Melissa, just calling because I got a weird request from your husband yesterday. He asked for copies of your employment records. Said you needed them for some loan application." I never asked for a loan. I hadn't even talked to Lydia since I went on maternity leave. He was real pushy, she said. But something felt off. So I told him I'd call you first. My stomach dropped.
He was building something. A case, maybe. A lie.
Something I wouldn't see until it was too late. That same afternoon, I got an email from a company I'd never heard of. A collections agency. Said I owed $8,432 for consulting fees. The invoice was under my name. The address was correct. But I'd never heard of the company. I looked them up. They didn't exist. The phone number went straight to a voicemail that just said, "Leave a message." It was fake. He was setting me up. That night, I went back through the flash drive. I started looking deeper, into the files I hadn't touched yet, names I'd skimmed over, codes I didn't understand. And then I saw it. A folder labeled, "Backup Smell." At first I thought it meant Melissa.
Me.
Inside were scanned documents, bank forms, tax returns, leases, all with my name on them. Except they weren't real. They had my maiden name, my social security number, but addresses I'd never lived at. Signatures I never wrote. One file said I opened a consulting business 6 months ago. Another listed me as CFO of a company called MLC Capital Holdings. I sat back from the screen and stared. He wasn't just hiding things from me. He was planting things on me. He was making it look like I'd been involved the whole time. I called Rachel, the woman from the IRS. Told her what I found. She went quiet for a minute, then said something that chilled me. If he's forging documents in your name, this means 2 things. 1, he's planning to use you as a fall guy.
And 2,
he might be getting ready to run.
Run.
I hadn't even thought about that. He could take the money, take off, leave me holding the bag, and if the records made it look like I wasn't on it, I would be the one in handcuffs. And if he ran, what about Sadie? He hadn't asked to see her. Not once. But that didn't mean he wouldn't try to use her as leverage. Or worse. That night, I met with Rachel in person for the first time. We sat in the back booth of a diner in Chandler. She slid a thick manila envelope across the table. "We're going to take him down," she said. But we need your help. Inside were printed versions of the evidence, transaction records, timelines, statements. A list of names. Some I recognized. Some I didn't. At the bottom of the list was a name circled in red ink. Dr. Brandon Kale. Sadie's old pediatrician. The one we stopped seeing because of billing issues. I asked why he was circled. Rachel looked me dead in the eye. He's more than a doctor. He's the one moving the money. He owns one of the shell companies. We think he's laundering through patient billing. Suddenly, everything clicked. All those incorrect charges. The weird excuses from his front desk. Darren always said, "Don't worry about it, I'll call them." He wasn't fixing it.
He was part of it.
And then something even darker hit me. Tessa didn't just work for us. She was placed. She never had a resume. Never had a reference I could call. Darren handled it all. What if she wasn't some random girl he hooked up with? What if she was part of the scheme the whole time? I texted Erin and told her to change the locks. She was already one step ahead of me. And then I checked my bank account. Empty. Completely drained. My savings. The baby fund.
Gone.
All moved over 3 days earlier in 5 separate transfers. To a joint account I didn't even know existed. Opened under both our names. It hit me hard. This man wasn't just trying to hurt me. He was trying to erase me. That's when I made the decision. I wasn't going to wait for the IRS. I wasn't going to wait for him to run. I was going to make the first move. And I was going to take something back. Something Darren valued more than anything. Something he didn't know I already had access to. The hidden ledger. The one buried in the cloud. The one that tied him not just to fraud, but to extortion, bribery, and names of men I knew from Sadie's daycare board, local charities, even the mayor's office. It was his insurance policy. His golden parachute. And now it was mine. It all came down to a single Saturday. I had been watching Darren for days, quietly, carefully. Through Rachel, I found out he had a flight booked under a fake name. Headed to Costa Rica. Private airfield. Tuesday morning. That gave me exactly 3 days. 3 days to take him apart. I wasn't just doing this for revenge. I was doing it because I had to. If he left, I'd be the one left holding the mess. He'd already started forging documents in my name, already drained our accounts. If he made it out, I'd be the one they'd come for. So I set the trap. First, I made a call to someone I hadn't talked to in years. My old friend Mark, a tech guy I used to work with. Quiet, private, owed me a favor. I told him I needed to trace a set of encrypted files and help schedule a timed cloud upload that would release everything if I didn't log in by a certain hour. He didn't ask questions. Then I printed every single file, spreadsheets, bank transfers, phone records, fake companies, that recording of Darren talking about me like I was trash. I bundled them in a black binder and labeled it with one word. Insurance. Next, I set a meeting. I emailed Dr. Brandon Kale directly. Pretended to be a reporter from a local news station, said I was working on a piece about charity fraud and wanted his comment. Attached a fake document that looked like an internal investigation. He fell for it. Agreed to meet Monday night. Private cafe. 6 p.m. Then came the hardest part. I had to face Darren. I told him I wanted to meet.
Just to talk. For Sadie's sake.
Neutral location. A park near our old house. Sunday afternoon. He showed up in a new shirt.
Collared, ironed.
Like he was playing the worried husband role for the cameras. He sat on the bench. I stood. "I know what you've been doing," I said. "I know about the money. The accounts. The forgeries. I even know about Kale." His jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. "I have everything. Copies, witnesses, backups. You run, it all goes public. You come at me, it still goes public." He just smiled. "You don't know who you're dealing with." That's when I said the line I'd been saving for this moment.
No, Darren.
You don't. I tossed a flash drive into his lap. He picked it up confused. "It's not real," I said. "That one's a decoy. Just like your life." Then I turned and walked away. Monday came. At 6 p.m. sharp, Rachel and a federal agent were sitting in a parked car outside that cafe. I watched from down the block with my sister. Brandon Cale walked in holding a briefcase. 20 minutes later, they walked him out in cuffs. He was off the board. That night, I triggered the cloud release, but only to one email address: the Arizona State Attorney's Office. Tuesday morning, Darren pulled up to the private airfield just outside Tucson.
Got out, checked his phone.
That's when he saw me. I was sitting in my car across the lot. He didn't move. I rolled down my window. Looking for this? I held up the real flash drive. It's already gone. You're done. He started toward me.
Fast.
And that's when two black SUVs pulled up. FBI. They swarmed him, guns drawn. He dropped to the ground faster than I expected, face down in the dirt in his stupid new shirt. As they dragged him away, he looked at me. Not hate, not fear, just shock. Like he really thought I wouldn't do it. The fallout was fast. They found over $2.4 million in stolen money. Half of it laundered through fake charities and medical bills. Some of it linked to real estate scams across 3 states. Dr. Cale pled out. Turned over names. Darren tried to cut a deal. But he had burned too many people. The DA wanted blood. The FBI wanted names. And I had already given them the best ones.
Tessa? She ran.
But they caught her 6 weeks later in Miami using a fake ID. She was trying to get on a cruise ship to Honduras. She cried on TV during her arrest. Claimed Darren used her. Claimed she loved him. No one believed her. The court case took a year. During that time I got subpoenaed, had to testify. I told the truth. Everything. The affair. The money. The files. The fake invoices in my name. I didn't hold back. But I also had to face some hard truths. I had ignored signs. Let myself become small. Let him convince me I was emotional, dumb, too tired to see straight. I gave up pieces of myself to keep peace in a house built on lies. That's on me. But I fixed it. In the end, Darren got 18 years. No parole. Cale got 9. Tessa got 6, plus a restitution order she'll never finish paying off. And me? I moved to Flagstaff with Sadie. Got a small rental, started working again part-time. Built something real. On my own. I still have that binder. Insurance. Locked away. Just in case. Not for me. For Sadie. Because one day, when she's older, she'll ask why her dad isn't around. And when she's ready, I'll show her. Every single page.